It's freezing cold, so I'm gonna make this quick. I was originally just gonna wait until spring to do an update video, but I'm just gonna break the news to you right now. And it's right there. I got another car. Yeah, and it's not what I was looking for, but it's exactly what I wanted. So let me show you what I got. All of the Subaru enthusiasts are going to know exactly what this is. Everybody else, you might just think this is a first generation Subaru Legacy, which it is. It is a 1992 Subaru Legacy. The trick here, this is a Subaru Legacy Sport Sedan. So the Sport Sedan is a very rare trim level for Subaru of this era. This was the car that they started to develop to make their stamp on the world of rally. So the WRC. This is the car that really got them their start. If you've heard of Colin McRae, this is the car that he started driving for Subaru, the 555, the blue 555. It was the Subaru Legacy first, and then it became the Impreza RS or the Impreza WRX. But this is where it started, the Legacy. So this trim package was very rare. They only imported a few thousand of them to the United States. What makes this special? The motor. This is an EJ22T. So the T stands for turbo. So this comes with a factory turbo installed, and these cars are so much fun. I am so excited about this car. I know you guys are too. So let me just tell you a little bit more about this one in particular. So by now, you guys, I've talked about it quite a bit on the channel. I am a Subaru fanboy. Like, I have owned a ton of Subarus, and I love them. My daily driver is a Subaru. It's a Subaru Legacy GT wagon. I've actually owned two of those. So my love for Subaru, I can't explain it. It's just something about the brand personality that matches mine pretty well. They're really pragmatic, but they still like to party. And that's kind of the way I approach my view on the world. But this one in particular is special to me. I actually owned a car exactly like this. I owned a 1993 Subaru Legacy Sport Sedan in purple. I owned it in college. That was my college car. That's the car that I had when I first got married. When we first moved to Utah, I had this car. And I loved that car. It was so much fun. I actually sold it to buy a 2002 WRX, which I liked that car too. I liked my WRX, but I should have held on to this car. I just loved that car, and nothing quite excited me as much as that car did. But this one in particular is pretty cool. It has a pretty cool story, and I'll get into it a little bit. The motor in here is what's special about this car. There's a few other bits and pieces that are different from your standard Legacy, but really it's all about the motor. The EJ22, in my opinion, is the best motor that Subaru ever built. So there's a lot of reasons why, but just like the high levels of it, it's a closed deck motor right from the factory, which means it can hold a ton of power. And you actually see a lot of guys that are doing power builds for early WRXs, they are looking for an EJ22 for the bottom end because it comes from the factory just ready to go. You don't have to do very much to make a lot of power out of these. From the factory, these things don't come with a ton of power. I think it's about 163 horsepower, but that's because it has a tiny turbo. The turbos on here are seriously about the size of a small cinnamon roll. They are really small, but you can swap them for a TD04, something else a little bit bigger. It handles it just fine. So the motor is awesome. This Subaru comes with, and this is why, I mean, I've been looking for one of these for a while. You just don't see them very often, but this came with something especially unique. So this is the original gauge cluster. 91,825 miles. 91,000 miles on this car. It's from 1992. And it's a Subaru that spent most of its life in California and Utah. Those are the only two states that it was ever registered in. That is ridiculous. So yeah, when I saw this come up, it was just no question I was going to buy it. So this is the 92 version. So they made this car from 1990 to 1994. This is what we call like the early versions of it. In 93, they did a facelift and they did a new interior. So this is the 92 interior and steering wheel, which is terrible. This interior is disgusting to me. I do not like this interior one bit, especially that steering wheel. That is the ugliest steering wheel I have ever seen. So plans in the future, in the very near future, all of this interior is going to go. I'm going to swap in something else, probably something from a WRX, because they're super easy to come by and they swap right in. And if you're an eagle-eyed viewer, you'll notice one of the downfalls of the sports sedan: an automatic transmission. So they did offer them in a 5-speed manual. Those are ultra rare. These things are pretty hard to find. A 5-speed manual is almost impossible to find nowadays. They are super rare. As automatic transmissions go, this is it's 4E-AT, so the 4E automatic transmission. They are really good transmissions. They are super strong, they're very reliable, and for a 1992 car, the shifts are pretty good. Like, it keeps up with the performance you want out of it. But it is an automatic, and that's just not going to do. So let's talk about that. One of the great things about Subarus is they're referred to as like a Lego car. So, Subaru, in a bid to be really efficient in their manufacturing, they make a lot of their parts interchangeable between the models. So as long as you're within the same model year, the parts are going to be pretty interchangeable. So first generation Legacies, first generation Imprezas, some first generation Foresters, they all have similar parts. So there's things that can swap in and out. So engines, transmissions, interiors, even some of the suspension pieces, they're all interchangeable between models, which is pretty awesome. So knowing that, right after buying the sports sedan, pretty much the next day I was on Facebook looking for a manual transmission, and I found one. So this is a manual transmission, 5-speed manual out of an Impreza Outback. And it was a 93 Outback, so this is same year range. This is the same gearbox that'll fit right into a sports sedan. So I picked up the gearbox, I picked up a differential, so this is a 3.9 differential for a manual. The automatics and the manuals are just there's subtle differences between them, so it's best just to grab the differential that matches your gearbox. So I have those. I also picked up the pedal box, so I have a clutch pedal and a brake pedal. And then I needed a few other little bits. So I needed a new drivetrain, or new drive line, and then I needed the transmission mount for the Legacy. The Legacy one is specific to the chassis. So I went to the junkyard to go find that, and I don't know what it is about this junkyard, but it has some amazing holy grail cars there. So I found that EG Civic hatchback, the SI, and on this trip I found a 1994 Subaru Legacy sports sedan 5-speed manual from the factory, and it was just sitting there. It had just been dropped on the lot. I couldn't believe it. Like, that is an impossible car to find, and there it was sitting at the junkyard that I go to. So I went there looking for these little bits, the driveline. So I picked up the driveline. This is out of that 94 sports sedan. I picked up the transmission mount. So this is the one that's specific to the Legacy. I also picked up the shift linkage, so that will match no problem. And I was going to grab the entire gearbox. But as I started to look at the gearbox, I could see some significant problems. There was a hole in the side of the gearbox, and there was also the bell housing was cracked. So the transmission, it was just going to be worthless. I wasn't going to be able to use that, but I could get everything else out of it, which was kind of a shame, because the sports sedan 5-speed manual, is hydraulically driven. So there's a hydraulic system to the clutch. It's a hydro clutch. This one, the Impreza one, is a cable. So it's not terrible. Cable clutches are fine, but you know, I prefer to have a hydraulic clutch. Just it's more convenient, a little easier to drive, but it's fine. There's just differences between the way that they operate. There's a push style and there's a pull style of a transmission. It's just unfortunate I'm not going to be able to get the hydraulic one yet. Maybe down the road we'll do a WRX transmission conversion into the sports sedan, but for right now this is going to be great. It's going to give me 5 gears to row through, and that's going to be fantastic. So that's it. That's the entire conversion. I don't have to do very much to get it into the car. I'm going to need to pick up a few little bits here and there, so I have a manual speed sensor. I'll need to swap that into the car. I'll also need to replace the 2 front axles, which is okay because I'm pretty sure the driver's front axle, the CB boot, is torn, so I'd need to work on that anyway. So I'll just swap out, get some new axles. They're not terribly expensive, and that way I just don't have to worry about it. And then there's minor rewiring that you have to do, or you can just get a manual transmission ECU, which I have. So really I'm just gonna have to unplug my old ECU, plug in the new one, and then we're good to go. That should take care of all the electrical stuff. So I'm super stoked about that. But for right now, for the winter, I'm going to keep the automatic transmission in the car, just going to drive it, just going to have fun. And then come springtime, this is going to be the first priority. Get the 5-speed manual swap into that car and start enjoying it and driving it like it should be. So that's pretty exciting to me anyway. So that's it. I just wanted to do a quick update of what's going to be happening. We're going to transition out of the Honda Civic. That car has been sold and it's with its new owner. I actually talked to the guy the other day and he is loving that car. He got it registered, it's on the road, which is fantastic. But I'm going to be transitioning and putting all my effort into the sports sedan. And I am so excited about this. I'm going to tell you more about kind of my history with this car in particular, and also my history with Subarus as we go on. There are a few things that I need to take care of right away. The biggest one being the valve covers. These are notorious for, well, Subarus in general. Valve covers, they just leak and you burn oil, it drips down on your manifold and you get a face full of smoke. This one is leaking really bad. So valve covers, I'm going to need to swap those out in the next few days. So that's going to be coming. But I'll keep you updated. I'm going to drive it through the winter, not work on it a whole lot, just do the stuff that absolutely needs to be done before I can drive it reliably. And then come springtime, oh boy, we got some big things coming. We got the transmission swap, interior swap, and then a few other things that I have cooked up in my mind that I've wanted to do to this car for decades. Well, for a decade, we'll say. Alright guys, we'll talk to you in the next one. Stay safe. See ya.